What's up, guys? Welcome back to the MA Sports Podcast. Here we are with another fantasy video. Going to talk about who we think you should emphasize on drafting and who we don't really care for. So let's get right into it. Anyone that jumps off the board for you, Angela?
Yeah, so I think last video we did like the top 40-ish players. So this video we're kind of going down the lower players, almost sleepers,
Almost like a
some
part two.
range guys. What's up?
It's almost like a part two to the last
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. It's almost like a part two. But picking right off right below the guys that we talked about last episode, I love Calvin Ridley this year, man. His ADP is going around pick 40. I like him much higher than that. Year off might affect some guys, but Jamar Chase had a year off from college going into the NFL, and he won Rookie of the Year. So I don't doubt that he's been working. He looks good in training camp, and I think that connection with Lawrence is going to go sky high. So I like Calvin Ridley to finish much higher than where he's going.
Yeah, I agree. I think Calvin Ridley is going to be very good this year. I think people are a little underestimating him. You see him compared to Zay Jones in training camp, and you just see he looks fresh. And but another guy that I would probably stray away from, Darren Waller, and I'm a Giants fan, and I think Darren Waller, as far as touchdowns, is not going to have as good of a year because I think he's going to get a lot of receptions, maybe, but I just don't see him having the best year compared to other guys like Hawkinson who and Mark Andrews who get a lot of touchdowns every single year.
Okay, that's fair. I wouldn't say I stray away from Darren Waller, but just with tight ends, not really being a premium in fantasy to where there's only one to two guys you like taking high. I don't think Darren Waller gives you a good I don't think you're ever going to be in a good position to draft him. Like, there's just going to be other guys that have more value on your team, and I don't know if he's going to separate himself as one of those top tight ends. So I kind of agree with you, but for different reasons there.
Yeah, but moving down the list, Darren Waller's rated 48. Kyle Pitts. I would take Kyle Pitts over Darren Waller this year. I think Kyle Pitts last year, he just didn't get any touchdown. Oh my god, he didn't get any touchdowns, and I think that's not going to happen this year again.
Yet, it's hard to say it was a fluke last year because it's kind of been his whole career now. He's kind of been the same player, but we expect much more of him. I personally, I can't buy into him until I see it. He should be better. I hope he's better for his sake and just for the sake of where he was drafted, just so it looks better. But I don't know. I'm not going to buy into it yet. One of the guys that I also really like is DJ Moore here. DJ Moore is going around pick 55 in most standard leagues. He had one of his worst seasons since his rookie year last year, only racking up 888 yards. However, you notice that QB was in fluctuation last year. The offensive line wasn't that built up. And in his previous 3 seasons before that, he had over 1,000 yards in each of those. Now he's the sole target in Chicago. It's looking like he's going to be Justin Fields' go-to. So for pick 55 average, I like him well above that to finish higher.
Yeah, another player I really like is I think we've talked about this before. Alexander Mattinson with the Vikings. I think he's a great receiving back, and he's gonna kind of fill in the role of Dalvin Cook. And I don't think he shares the ball with any or shares the backfield with anyone really this year. So I think he's gonna put up good numbers with that Vikings offense. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Madison's in sole possession of that offense right now, and he has shown the ability to put up numbers time and time again when Cook gets hurt. Cook has gotten hurt plenty of times, and Madison has always stepped in and put up solid fantasy numbers. So
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Another sleeper that I think we should talk about is Christian Watson. Seems to have a
Christian
really
Watson.
good rapport with Jordan Love. What do you think about that?
I mean, Jordan Love isn't Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but Christian Watson is still, I feel like, that wide receiver one.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gonna put up good numbers. He finds he finds the end zone very well with Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love hasn't been looking bad. But I like Christian Watson this year as a wide receiver.
Okay. And before we go down farther on the board, I just want to give a shout out to one of my favorite guys this year, Miles Sanders. I think the Panthers' offensive line is built up. He can catch the ball, but more importantly, he can really just run it a lot over and over again. And it's something the Eagles didn't really do with him because they just had so many different weapons. But he's kind of the only guy there now. The Panthers like to run the ball. You saw their rushing offense last year with Deonto Foreman after McCaffrey got traded, and they're going to want to take weight off Bryce Young. I think Miles Sanders is still young. He's still got that juice, so I like him higher than where he's going.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think Miles Sanders is gonna have a decent year, but someone I would stray away from this year is Terry McLaurin, and that's surprising because he's a deep threat. But I think Dotson and Samuels, they just get more touches than him in past years. But Sam Howell, I don't know. I just don't like Terry McLaurin this year. I think he's not going to be the main focus in his offense, even though he is the best receiver. But I think Dotson and Samuels, they get a lot of touches, especially from last season. So we'll see what happens with that.
Wow, I disagree with you on this. I think Sam Howell loves to air it out, and Terry McLaurin's going to be his best friend on those jump balls, dude. He's one of the best jump ball guys in the league. I think off pure talent, Terry McLaurin's a top 10, top 12 receiver in the league.
No, yeah,
So
I agree. He's very talented, but I just don't think I don't think at least early in the season, I don't think he's gonna be airing it out that much. I think he's gonna go more to the crossing routes with Dotson and Samuels.
yeah, I don't think he's a sleeper. I think he deserves to go around where he's going, but I don't hate the pick if you end up with Terry McLaurin if it falls to your board. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. What do you think about DeAndre Swift on the Eagles? Because this is one
DeAndre
that
Swift.
I
I
love.
really like DeAndre Swift. It's that's nearly a flawless offense that the
Hmm.
Eagles have, and that pains me to say. But DeAndre Swift is adding to that. He's a receiving back, and he's really good. I really like DeAndre Swift, and the Eagles picked up a really good back, especially receiving.
Yeah, man, I love this one. Swift is still fresh when you think about it. The Lions barely used him, which is crazy because he's so talented. And he's a do-it-all guy in that offense, man. I think he's going to get the opportunities more than he did in Detroit, and I think he's going to capitalize on them. I love Swift, especially for being ranked as running back 28 on ESPN. He's going to finish much higher than that. I don't see him finishing below running back 15, maybe even top 12, barring injuries.
Um, so someone who jumps
Just a little-
off to me was very good at a little bit. Uh, Deontay Johnson. I like Deontay Johnson. He didn't have any touchdowns last year, and that's not going to happen again, in my opinion. For a wide receiver one, and he's really talented, I think that's not going to happen again. So if you have Deontay Johnson on a team, I think he's a must draft in later rounds if you're looking for a wide receiver two.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, nothing really jumps out to me about Deontay Johnson. I think
He's a great route runner.
we have Pickens. Yeah, he is a good route runner. I'm talking about fantasy wise. I think he's a good player, but he always
He gets a lot of
puts up
receptions.
fantasy. He does get a lot of receptions. It's just one of those guys that I never really loved in fantasy, and I don't have a reason for it. He's just not one of my guys, honestly.
I personally really like him in fantasy this year.
Moving on to one of my favorite sleepers of the year, I have James Cook here in Buffalo. So James Cook is going around pick 80. Okay. And he really came on towards the end of last year, and he's looking at a big workload this year. I think he takes at least 65 to 70% of the snaps there in Buffalo. And in that offense, dude, he's gonna get a lot of touches and a lot of opportunities. So I like James Cook.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's gonna explode this year in terms of fantasy. I think he's gonna get a lot more receptions in the backfield and just a lot more red zone looks. I like him.
Mhm. So, what do you think about going on to quarterbacks we haven't touched on yet? What do you think about Justin Fields?
I'm surprised Justin Fields is lower in fantasy wise than Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow was QB5 on this list. Justin Fields is
Mm-hmm.
QB6, and that's surprising because it seems like all he does is run the ball and rack up those points. But I like Justin Fields for fantasy. I think he's going to be a very good fantasy quarterback. Not saying I like his game like regular, like I don't like him as a player, as a quarterback, but fantasy wise, he will do good for you guys, for you this year.
I'm right there with you. If you can get Justin Fields in like the 5th round, you're taking it, dude. If you can get Justin Fields in the 4th round, I think it's maybe up in the air. But if I'm getting him in the 5th, 6th round, I'm pulling the trigger on that. He could be the QB1. Like he showed so much in the back half of last year just for fantasy with really nothing around him. And there is a question if maybe defenses figure out his style of play. He's not going to have as much of the rushing upside as he did last year. But I just think even a half of what he was last year is still an insane like fantasy QB play. And I think he's going to be taken much higher than what people have him as now as like draft season progresses. He's going to rise upwards.
Yeah, what do you think about Brandon Ayuk?
So I like Ayuk. The offense caters to him definitely, and I think he has a good rapport with Purdy. I mean, you might have Darnold the first couple weeks, which is fine. Darnold can throw the ball fine, but I'm an Ayuk guy. For where he's going, I think you could probably get a little more value out of him. He should go higher than this, in my opinion. But if he falls to you, take him, dude. And you need that position. I think you pull the trigger on him.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I think Brandon Ayuk is maybe the in the receiving game, maybe the fourth option. He, you have Debo, you have CMC in the backfield, and you have George Kittle. And I don't think, I mean, at least when I had Ayuk last year, it was always, especially when CMC got traded to the 49ers, I didn't get a lot of value or production out of him, except for a couple when he got touchdowns. But he rarely gets targeted in the red zone, and I wouldn't personally take him this high. I would probably take him in the later rounds.
Hmm. Well, you got to think you're not getting him as a wide receiver 1 or even a wide
No,
receiver 2.
no,
Him as
but
a wide receiver
I don't know if
3
I'd take
slash
him.
flex option.
Yeah, but that I still would stray away from him. Me personally, I don't really like him.
Um, Justin Herbert's always a good get, but I don't know if it's going to be too early for a quarterback here. Um, Jahan Dotson, what do you think
I
about
like
him?
him.
You
I
like
like
him?
Jahan Dotson. I think
Okay.
he proved a lot last year, and he really helped out the Commanders' offense.
Okay.
I
I'm
like.
not as high on Dotson. I am high on Jackson Smith and Jigba for where he's going, for his level of talent, and that Seahawks offense, dude.
And Gino, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he's a pure slot guy, and he's going to put up numbers in the slot, dude. I see him putting up big numbers this year. He's going to finish much higher than wide receiver
Dude,
41.
the wide receivers that the Seahawks have are gross.
Mm-hmm.
Their wide
Yep.
receiver core is disgusting. They are so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It
On
it,
this
it kind of
board,
reminds me of the Dolphins in a sense of with their speed. You know, you have Tyler Lockett, you have Jackson Smith, you have DK Metcalf, who's proven to be very
yeah.
very agile. I like their wide receiver core a lot, and I would take Jackson Smith.
On this big board, Jackson Smith and Jigba going 102, but I like him better in fantasy than Lockett this year, and they have Lockett going 71. So we'll see what happens. But going down even farther, we're going into deep sleepers now. Kadarius Toney is a great get if he's healthy because he's maybe the most dynamic player in that Chiefs offense, aside from Mahomes, aside from Kelsey. When you're looking at wide receivers, Kadarius Toney, arguably the best one when healthy. Dude can do everything. You know him as a Giants fan. The shiftiest guy in the league, I would say.
He's one of them, but he is very good. And yeah, yeah, he's probably one of the best playmakers besides Kelsey and Mahomes on that offense.
Mhm.
and yeah, he's a good steal.
Now, Quentin Johnston, Chargers wide receiver, not too sure how he's been performing in camp, but that might be interesting knowing how much Mike Williams gets hurt. That's not someone that you would start in your flex or even wide receiver 3, but I think you stash him on your bench. Maybe just wait for him, see how he's working through the first couple weeks of the season, but could end up being a good, solid get there.
Yeah. Okay. Elijah Moore.
Mm,
I really like Elijah Moore this year. I think he's going to be very good in this Browns offense. Coming off a terrible fantasy season and just a terrible season with the Jets, I think Elijah Moore thrives this season, and I would target him if I
yeah.
were you late rounds.
Maybe one of the best sleepers for value, Elijah Moore. There's no way he should be going this low. He has way too much talent. It seems like he has a very good connection with Watson. And I agree with you, man. I could see him putting up some big numbers this year. And at
Yeah, definitely.
136, like, dude, you pull the trigger on that immediately. Another guy I think you pull the trigger on in round 10, round 11, in the range he goes is Anthony Richardson, just for that rushing upside. Yes, he's going to throw a lot of picks. Yes, he might not have the most completions. He might not be the most accurate this year.
He will be so good. He will end up being people's starters. I really think Anthony Richardson will thrive this year. You preseason you saw that sidearm interception, and it's preseason anyway. That drive he uses his body, and he reminds me of like Jay or Cam Newton, but bigger and faster. He
Yeah.
I really like Anthony
Agreed.
Richardson, and I sound like I'm babbling here, but Anthony Richardson is going to be a QB, good quarterback in fantasy.
I think he has top 5 quarterback potential this season
I agree.
for fantasy. For fantasy,
I
but
agree with that.
um, rounding out the list here, we're going down very far. We're going into the kicker defense range. I mean, I like Odell Beckham for a bench spot, but like not for starting. Some tight ends down here. Dawson Knox, but he's sharing with Dalton Kincaid now, so I don't like that's okay. It's
Yeah,
just tight ends are so hard, dude. So hard to predict.
yeah, but I feel like we got most of the sleepers.
Yeah. Oh, here's my last sleeper right here. Mike
Mike
Gesicki.
Gesicki,
Yeah.
yeah,
Dude, tight ends in that Patriots offense, and especially with Bill O'Brien, who was coming from when he called the plays with Aaron Hernandez and Gronk. Mike Gesicki's a very athletic tight end. Mac Jones is a good quarterback. No one's expecting this to happen, but they're gonna light it up together this year. I
yeah. I
like
like
just
that. He's very receiving oriented tight end. And you saw that with Miami, so I really like that actually.
Yep. You got any more?
Um, I mean, Zay Flowers could have a really good year in the slot in Baltimore, but I wouldn't count on that. But yeah, I think we touched on everyone. Oh, wait, go back up. Sky Moore. I actually like Sky
Oh,
Moore.
I'm a Sky Moore stan. I love Sky
Yeah,
Moore.
I like Sky Moore.
All right, I would take Sky Moore at this range, dude. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I'm very big on Sky Moore.
All right, so that's gonna wrap up our sleeper video and mid to late round guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. Thanks for watching. All right, cool.